comp. All right. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Josh, and today I am with Tim
How's it
and
going?
Will.
How's it going, everyone?
I'm Marvel Will today. I don't get to be DC Will like
Back to
usual.
Marvel, Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking any DC today. I mean, unless you bring it up in our opening topic. So today our opening topic is we're talking about kind of the comic book related Super Bowl ads, pop culture Super Bowl ads, stuff that you see covered on Hyper Network basically. And our debate topic today is the biggest MCU failure, which includes TV and movies, which will be interesting because obviously failure can be, a financial failure, a failure in the story itself in regards to the larger scope. I mean, it's a pretty subjective kind of debate topic. So interested in seeing where that goes. So with our opening topic, guys, what was your favorite Super Bowl trailer? I think mine might have been, and this is obviously ignoring, the early Super Bowl previews they put on YouTube and stuff days beforehand. But I wish I could say Mr. Clean, but that's not comic book related. But that was
That
funny
was a
as
good
shit.
ad. It's one of the few I remember.
But
I saw part of it. I'm like, whoa.
But
down, Mr.
I mean,
Clean.
I gotta say maybe Stranger Things or Transformers. The only reason why is because the Transformers one basically confirmed that Optimus Prime that we saw fighting Bumblebee in the first trailer isn't a clone or anything like that. That it's actually Optimus just evil. And the Stranger Things one's awesome because it was Stranger Things season 2, and everyone's been thirsty for the preview of Stranger Things season 2. But how about you guys? Tim, you go first.
Honestly, I have a hard time remembering any of them. To be fair, the Super Bowl offerings this year were kind of lackluster. I guess I'd go with Stranger Things just because it had a more memorable trailer, because Guardians and Logan didn't really show much more than we already knew.
Will,
Yeah.
did you have a favorite favorite?
Favorite.
Do you have a favorite?
I'm on the bandwagon with you. Yeah, Stranger Things was definitely the one that at least caught my attention. I enjoyed Guardians, but when you guys told me that the trailer went up, I'm like, oh, I should go react. Nah, screw it. So I just finished working out. I was outside working out.
Really?
And I caught it inside. I'm like, oh, that was cool. We got to see, Aisha and stuff. And Logan, I just watched that one about 20 minutes ago.
Yep.
And, that was, both of them were fine. I saw the Transformers one, so it kept popping up as mandatory ads on my YouTube feed that I couldn't skip. And it kept pissing me off. And mind you, I don't care for Transformers, really. I stopped watching after the second film, so it does nothing for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely not have to watch the rest of them. I'll tell you that much. You really don't miss. I mean, the plot really hasn't progressed narratively. Tim, what's your thoughts on that? Because honestly, I feel like the plot's been pretty stagnant since the Allspark got destroyed.
I mean, the last one I saw was 3, which was just an overall shitty movie.
But
yeah,
and
so,
then you had 4, which was
mixed
the
it up
eternal
by
film.
giving us Kate Yeager.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, Mark Wahlberg tries best. I mean, I'm looking forward to this one because they got a whole new writing room, and supposedly the writing room is actually taking it super seriously, and they basically mapped out the whole Transformers mythology, both past, present, and future, so the movies can stick to a definitive sort of canon, so to speak, and not contradict themselves, or basically so the movies can make sense and actually make a franchise that works, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, sticking to the canon is nice, but in all those things of people going, okay, now we're going to take this seriously, I'm always skeptical, because most of what the appeal of a lot of things that have wide appeal, like Transformers and stuff like that, is that they have serious elements to it, but they also have goofy things you can latch onto when you're younger that you can appreciate in hindsight. So
I mean, they're taking it seriously, as in they're trying to make a well-written movie instead of just
because that's one of the things with Resident Evil that I have, because none of the Resident Evil movies have been good. I'm not saying that they are.
They've been slowly deteriorating.
But people are always saying no, they have to make it, and it has to be super scary horror movie. It's Resident Evil's never been scary. Like, from its first game, it's always had a camp horror feel to it. It's like a B-movie.
I am the master of unlocking.
Now you are the master of unlocking. You're right.
But
you're right.
Honestly, the best thing the Transformers franchise could do is have a crossover with Fast and the Furious.
No, stop.
Yes,
please. They're crossing over G.I. Joe before they do Fast and Furious, which is a mistake all on its own.
G.I. Joe is dead.
Why not have both? Both of them have The Rock in it, so go ahead, do it.
And then Baywatch, and then it'll cross over with Aquaman, and every movie will be complete.
I mean, I'm still convinced. I think I could have sworn they actually confirmed this too. Like Men in Black and 21 Jump Street is going to do some sort of crossover. Anyways, before that's not what this episode's about.
Well, it has to do with Marvel because Marvel owns Malibu.
Yeah, but fuck those crossovers. Isn't that Sony? Sony just out of ideas. They're broke. Anyways,
yeah,
they should stick to PlayStations. What?
I mean, our debate topics aren't doing particularly hot right now.
Well, it's because Paramount's like, Marvel, please just make a Hulk movie, and like Marvel's like, no.
It's beyond that. Like, none of Paramount's like franchises have done well in like the last 2 years, and like none of their like niche movies are doing that well either.
That's a shame, because I remember like watching. I mean, that's what they get for trying to make a bunch of Nickelodeon movies that bombed, but
oops,
I mean, that's their fault. Anyways,
life comes at you.
Our debate topic today is biggest MCU failure, including TV, movies, all the MCU, essentially. Now, this is going to be interesting because there's so many, like, I can choose from. Like, obviously, I want to choose Thor: The Dark World, or I want to choose Iron Man 2, or I want to choose, like, Agent Carter, or even, like, honestly, like, Iron Man 3, because you could argue, like, you know, I mean, I know a lot of people were, you know, kind of burnt by that Mandarin twist. However, I chose my honorable mention is Agent Carter, because I feel like no one really gives a shit about Agent Carter besides Agent Carter fans.
Poor Peggy, she deserves so much better.
I mean, I feel bad for her because like I heard the show was good.
The show was fine. Like it wasn't anything to write home about. I just wish they had gotten to complete its mission statement.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel bad because I heard it had quality. It just didn't have quantity and views.
That's what I heard too. Like I caught the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, but like Iron Man 2 is my actual pick for biggest failure. And I don't know, Tim, Will, what are you guys' failure before we get into this? What did you guys choose?
Tim, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, going off of that, I put down Iron Man 3. It's not for the reason most people would, but I'll go over the positives and negatives of that, why I think it's the biggest failure. But my honorable is Thor: The Dark World. It's just not a lot to talk about it. That movie's just kind of there.
Yeah, and for me, the one I picked was Avengers: Age of Ultron. With my my honorable mention is kind of Jessica Jones, because it kind of overstayed its welcome a little bit, and now it's gonna take them a long time kind of to come up with a season 2.
But Jessica,
it took them a long time to come up with season 1. They stretched it out like an additional like 3 episodes.
Yeah,
take a shot every time Purple Man says Jessica.
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 Granted, episode 8, like that one, I thought that was a fantastic episode, and that hit home to me on some personal things that I'm not going to go into. But still.
I give props to you because I cannot remember which episode did what. Honestly,
I can't remember that for any of the series.
Yeah, it was when they were in the house together.
It's just all one big blur. I mean,
it was
honestly,
one big blur. You're right.
If I had to put like a TV show in there, like Netflix wise, like if it wasn't for Punisher, I mentioned this to you guys earlier. If it wasn't for Punisher, and how well Punisher was done, I would put Daredevil season 2 in there because I thought they really shat the ball on Elektra.
Shat the ball.
Yeah, like that makes no sense. I thought they really dropped the ball on Elektra. And how they like ended up doing her by the end, like what the fuck was that? And the second half of Luke Cage
and her floating accent.
I mean, like, what happened with the second half of Luke Cage? I mean, it was enjoyable, but it just got wacky for like the wrong reasons. You know
Am I the only one that likes Diamondback?
I like Diamondback. I thought he was a fun villain. Like he was a change of pace from the one they had for the first half of the season with Cottonmouth, but I think it worked
he's
fine.
the gospel
it's a good way
Terminator.
to push Luke Cage towards actually having a personality.
No, but my problem with him was like I just felt like they really bent over backwards, like because Cottonmouth was so interesting, and I mean it might be the actor too, because every time I see the actor in a role,
great.
He just grabs me in the role. Like, he's just so good, and like he just has such like a swagger to him, I guess. But Cottonmouth was so good, and I think a big part of why he was so good, at least in my opinion, was the fact that like he was like kind of a physical threat to Luke Cage without being a physical threat, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like he was just like everything else about him caused issues for Luke Cage that actually caused Luke Cage to have to respond. And like, you know, it went from anything to him having to break into that building or, you know, all the other miscellaneous things he was doing throughout. And like Shades was like a great kind of sidekick too.
Yeah.
But I mean, not obviously sidekick for Luke, but sidekick for, you know,
Dillard.
Cottonmouth. But I felt that when they did Cottonmouth, I mean, I just felt like they kind of just like it got a little generic-ish. You know what I mean? Like it lost some of that like really cool like the tension between Cottonmouth, the councilwoman who her last name I keep forgetting, even though
Dillard.
Will like said it like 5 seconds ago.
Just call her
like,
Mariah.
Yeah, like the conflict between Mariah, Cottonmouth, and Luke Cage, like that tension was so good and made for such good TV, and then just kind of like undramatically ended because of, you know, what happened. I don't want to spoil it, but that happens, and
so
then
is
Cottonmouth
Mariah
gets
gonna
into
give
the
birth
picture.
to Victor Alvarez in this universe? Because his dad is Shades.
I mean, I guess so.
That, now I'm thinking about that.
Who knows? Anyways, I got totally sidetracked. I apologize, but yeah. So we said our biggest MCU failures. So who wants to go first? With this, we got Iron Man 2 in my corner. Tim's got Iron Man 3, and Will, you got Age of Ultron. So
I'd say we start with Age of Ultron.
Yeah, work our way down.
work our way back. All right. So for Age of Ultron, I think what makes it kind of the biggest failure is that, which might be a similar thing that you guys have, is that it's banking off something that a lot of people are excited for. Like Iron Man did incredibly well. Avengers like doubled that. Just when it comes to reaction from fans. And when we saw the initial trailer for everything, everyone was so excited for it to be a darker toned film, making it a lot more serious, having someone who's like a literal robot as a villain with a great actor behind it. And though I understand some of the design choices that they did for Ultron, especially since the way he was made involved like his personality being based on Tony Stark, that kind of explains why he was so quippy. I kind of wish I would have been able to see more of what Joss Whedon was trying to do, and just kind of behind the scenes, all the ongoings of Marvel pushing him in a specific direction to fit in with their cinematic universe, which they do to all their directors, frankly. But it seemed a lot more extensive. Joss Whedon seemed more tired, and just kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff kind of turned this to just from bouncing off the hype from 2012 of everyone being so excited for Avengers 1 and everyone falling in love with it. And then you get Avengers 2 and the villain and the story are just a lot weaker, and Quicksilver's death is total bullshit. And it just left a lot of people feeling, well.
You didn't see it coming?
No, I didn't see it coming.
It feels like a take that to Fox.
Yeah, which I'm almost certain that it was. It's like, we'll split the rights for this one movie just to kill him. So I want him back for Infinity War. Fuck what anyone else.
Well, the rumor is that he comes back. Anyways, yeah, keep going, Will.
But I mean that basically sums it up. It's just kind of it's a letdown in just the most regular sense, because Avengers 1 came out, people were like 11 out of 10. This one hit and it went at like 7, 8. Like, it's not that bad, but it has like a lot of issues in it that could have been worked out if they kind of gave Joss Whedon a little more free reign. Also, I'm still I like that they expanded on Hawkeye as a character. I think it was kind of sudden, though, that it's like, he has a secret family. It's like, but you were building up something with him and Black Widow.
Well, I mean, like, family. Not really. They never really built a romance. It was like, you just kind of got the vibe that they were close, you know? Like, it could be romantic, could be, like, you know, platonic.
I would have rather seen more of that explored. It didn't have to be romantic. But I would have rather seen more exploration into the humanity and the characters of Black Widow and Hawkeye than, Black Widow's fucking the Hulk and Hawkeye is a secret family. so they just don't interact as much.
Yeah,
so
the Black Widow
thing
is probably the biggest
that was bullshit
thing in that movie that's out of place.
Yeah, that was definitely sudden because it's just like 2 years and all right, so that happened.
Also, feels like they already ran out of things for Black Widow to do in this movie, so they just gave her a romance because no one else had one in the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
oh yeah,
that farm scene though, when like they reveal Hawkeye had a family, that whole thing, that was probably one of the most like unintentionally deepest scenes, because I don't know if you guys like noticed, but like when Cap like eventually just kind of like runs off, you know what I mean, like that part. That was like a throwback to a previous movie that came out like way back, and it had like a much deeper meaning if you knew that context. Because, and Tim, I don't know you, because you're more cinema, movie kind of loving than I am, so you might know what I'm talking about. And if not, I mean, people listening too, like go look this up, like it's true. But it's like the movie that it was a reference to was like a soldier coming home or something like that, but he realized like this isn't where he is, like he's in the battlefield still. Internally. It
sounds like a bunch of different movies it could be.
Externally. I mean, but like the scene literally, like the way it was like the angle and like the scenery, like all that, like it was like basically like just like that movie. And like Cap turns around and just kind of goes off. It's basically just like that. I thought it was really cool once I, found that out. I was like, oh, that's really neat. And I'm sure a lot of people would have enjoyed that if they understood, obviously, what was being referenced, but also like
to be fair though, as BBS showed us, making a reference to another film doesn't automatically help anything.
Yeah, but I mean, this reference actually had like meaning for the character. I mean, this wasn't like Excalibur, some shit like that. Like this was actually like Captain America's a soldier too, and then like his greatest fear is actually like being able to enjoy his life and settle down and not be in constant battle. Like that's like it's pretty deep when you put it all together, but. I mean, besides the fact, Cap always gets a short hand of the stick. I mean, he has a lot of great scenes in the first Avengers that got cut out. Yeah. Because, like, I don't know. I think Joss Whedon said they took it out because it was, like, too much attention to just Cap or something. I don't know. I thought it was really cool.
I remember that they did cut stuff out with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like there is a lot of stuff brewing in the background with Cap and Tony that you might be able to notice, might be intentional, might be just reading into it, but I definitely feel there's something more there than we're seeing, like, on the surface.
Dude, they almost threw hands when they were cutting wood. What are you talking about?
Dude, that scene was dope. I'll give you that.
I
that was
like,
a good
as
scene.
characters, not together. Like, separate from each other, like their character arc throughout their movies.
Yeah, no, when Cap just, like, ripped the wood playing up, I was like, oh, shit, it's about to go down. I hope Tony's armor's nearby because he's about to get to work.
Yeah, but also killing what's his face? God, I can't even remember his name. The villain, the
Von Strucker.
Yeah, Von Strucker. That was just a waste of talent.
They did hype him up.
They did, and that was another letdown. I don't like that Marvel kills most of their villains. It bothers me. Just because it's just like, well, that leaves no room for them to really have any possible limelight or to do anything underhand in the future. Like, if you kill them, that doesn't...
We still have Zemo, Masters of Evil.
I mean, ironically, though, like, killing their villains like that is the most, like... I mean, I know they always complain, oh, the MCU isn't realistic enough. I mean, that's actually more realistic than anything else. Like, these people would be dead.
It's pragmatic, at least.
It definitely is pragmatic. It just doesn't allow the villains to shine as much as people would like.
Yeah,
that's true.
I still stand by that. Yellow Jacket's death in Ant-Man was the most painful death to ever see.
Yeah,
really? You thought that was the most painful death?
He got sucked into another universe.
Oh,
he
physically
imploded
painful
on himself.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I'm so curious about that. Is he just infinitely shrinking on himself, or was it just like one, like, you know what I mean, like just it was like one action?
I think we're getting
I was really
off
curious
topic.
About that. Yeah, we are. Even though,
I mean, that's just about all I have to say on it.
Tim's gonna be the one to really like rein us in this episode. I can already tell. Because I don't know why I keep going off topic today. Tim, do you want to go next?
Sure. So for Iron Man 3, honestly, my problem with it isn't the Mandarin thing. Like, I never really had a huge problem with that reveal.
You must not be a soccer fan.
No, because even if the one thing I thought to myself was it was a cinematic universe already at that point. If they had decided that that guy's not going to be the Mandarin, they can still do him later should they choose. And they did do that later, so I was right in my assessment. But my issue with Iron Man 3 is that probably of all the MCU films, it's probably the least structurally sound. Mostly because of its third act. And that's because they don't really resolve Tony's PTSD thing. At least on screen with it, like, he just gets reminded he's Tony Stark, and then he builds all this MacGyver shit and goes to fight the bad guys.
Actually, one thing I'm pissed about in Iron Man 3 is that they kind of laughed that Tony had PTSD. They're like, oh, that's so funny that this man is having an anxious breakdown from, like, trauma and fighting in an actual war where the planet almost got destroyed. I'm like, that's not funny.
They did it like maybe like once or twice with that, but they did play it straight a bunch of times in there too.
Yeah, and I think that was good, but I don't know, that something just sat wrong with me about that when like Tony was
I understand like
it was mostly Rhodey though, kind of making fun of him.
Well, him and the kid.
Even though like Rhodey out of all people should be able to, sympathize.
Yeah.
And then like Rhodey got shafted in this movie though,
like usual.
The thing with the kids, like, he was like super pointless to it. Like, he didn't need like a scrappy ragamuffin sidekick. Like, anyone could have filled that role.
Scrappy dude, Scrappy Stark.
And that kid amounts to nothing. No one's mentioned him since.
Also, another thing that got me about Iron Man 3 is that they just took away Pepper's powers. I'm like, dude, you could have used her. She was the only one who, like,
but they did imply that if she was super enraged, like Hulk, like, when she had it, because she was, like, afraid, like, after she beat the dude up about what she just did, and she didn't realize she did it.
I mean...
it's kind of wild, though,
considering they still should have let her keep the powers.
I mean, I can understand why they took the powers away, even though I can see why people would be upset that they took powers away from Pepper.
Well, I was kind of mad they, like...
You could have remixed Rescue like that. That would have been awesome.
I was kind of mad they, like, dicked over, like, Tony Stark getting, like, extremists and, like, doing that whole thing, Because they could have really had, like, really cool stuff with the Iron Man suit if, like... They use the bullshit that is extremist from the comics. Yeah. But, like...
How wonderful bullshit it is.
Like, imagine that bullshit in the movies. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but I can understand also why maybe they didn't. I mean, they kind of, like, did a pseudo version of the bullshit, but their pseudo version of the bullshit is just him being able to call the armor to him. That's it. It's not even that much bullshit.
That's cool. It's pseudo.
But how badass would it be if he just randomly the armor just came out of his skin, I mean, that might be kind of, like... Might be a little too graphic for some people.
Nah, man. Not if you animate it right.
I mean, that's true. I mean, but I was hoping that'd be pretty cool. Like,
yeah,
they could probably make it really PG-13 by having it just be like, oh, he is like liquid metal nanites that just happen to form into his armor versus his armor actually coming out of his bone marrow or some shit.
It'd be like a Sailor Moon transformation.
I've never seen Sailor Moon.
Tim understands
it's just anything where they transform into a costume.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Power Rangers.
Like Power Rangers. Yeah, Power Rangers.
No, but Iron Man 3, it just like dropped that subplot to it, and they kind of harken back to it in Civil War with how Tony's acting there, which is something I'll get into at the end of this, but Iron Man 3 just has a lot of flaws to it writing-wise. Like, beyond like the Mandarin thing, like that's the least of its problems, to be honest. But
blow up the suits, all the suits. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, just blowing up all the suits was a weird way to end that. Honestly, it feels like that they were doing that to like do a set up to a potential fourth movie, which was Armor Wars, where people fished his tech out of the ocean, river, wherever they were, and then repurposed it.
I mean, that would have been pretty cool, I think.
But they're not doing Iron Man 4, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, why don't we get Arno Stark in a movie?
I was pretty pissed by how people were complaining about it. Like, a lot of people just like complaining to complain,
Yeah.
The blowing up of the suits didn't bother me. I just thought it was cool.
Well, like people that are complaining, like, oh, how is he gonna make more armors all of a sudden if he blows through? I'm like,
he's rich.
All right, if you haven't, no, I mean,
how
not
do you
even
build
that.
them the first time? Do it again.
No, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you act like the dude didn't save, blueprints and probably files that go over how to make the shit. I mean, we saw he can basically just tell like Jarvis or whatever AI he's using, oh, by the way, I want this suit, make it, I want it tomorrow, paint it this color, yada yada. I mean, that was in Iron Man 1. Imagine how much more efficient it is at this point.
How is he gonna make another suit? Well, he's done it before, so he'll do it again. Because he has money, he has infinite money and resources, essentially.
Yeah. But the thing basically my main problem with it is structurally, but the one thing I do like about it is, despite people being distracted from it from the flaws, and Iron Man 2 had this too, and so did, both Age of Ultron and, Civil War, is that Tony has had a continuous story arc throughout these movies, whether you've noticed it or not, of him progressively breaking down as he goes. And this movie, like, maybe playing the PTSD card here was a mistake with that, but you can definitely see, like, him, like, starting to make, like, even rasher decisions just to potentially keep people safe and draw attention towards him when he called the Mandarin to him, and then trying to get back out of it by taking the thing out of his chest, but it didn't help anything later.
Yeah, you could argue that he might be a little suicidal.
Yeah.
At that point.
Like, I've liked Tony's arc even if his movies haven't been the best. Which leads us to Josh.
Yeah. I mean, Tim, to go off that before I begin, I gotta say that's probably one of the best parts, like the biggest successes of the MCU is the fact that because we've gotten a lot of movies with these characters, we can actually have some pretty interesting arcs with them. Yeah. And Tony Stark has probably had one of the most interesting arcs. I mean, going from how his character was in Iron Man 1 to how his character is in Civil War, that's a huge arc. And the journey in between is really, I mean, that's kind of like not common in cinema, like, in movies, which is obviously it's a benefit of having a shared universe. You can definitely
connect the dots if you're looking for it there.
Yeah. All right. So Iron Man 2, Jesus. All right. So, this was really easy when I really thought about it, because when I think about a failure, right, I'm not even talking just failure as a movie in a quality aspect based on reviews and stuff like that. But I'm talking failure as in, like, this movie wasn't I said evil, Jesus. It wasn't even able to...
This movie was not evil.
Yeah. The movie wasn't even able to complete its own plot. And when I say that, you're like, oh, well, what was the plot of Iron Man 2? Exactly. Because it was trying to juggle so many things, right? So, like, Incredible Hulk, that had a pretty straightforward plot. Hulk is on the run. He's searching for a cure. That's it. And he ends up finding that the cure isn't necessarily a medical cure, but it's being able to simply maintain the Hulk versus trying to get rid of the Hulk. Iron Man 1 had a straightforward plot. There was the journey of Tony Stark from the industrialist that he was before to being a man that kind of got humbled, essentially, and decided to, instead of being greedy and stuff like that, giving. And obviously his way of giving was in being a hero, which is Iron Man. And, I can go through every single other movie and, say what the plot is.
It's
Iron
better
Man 2,
to give
however,
than to receive an ass whooping.
that should have been the tagline, Tim. You should really start writing this stuff down. You could be a comedian, I swear. Tim the comedian, like, hashtag that. But actually don't hashtag that, because we gotta give him a good stage name. But for Iron Man 2, though, it starts off with a pseudo demon in the bottle kind of story arc, right? Like, I was so convinced that Iron Man 2 in a perfect world would be demon in the bottle. Maybe setting up some armor wars, stuff like that with other people, like, they kind of touched upon other people trying to build armors and stuff like that. And you could probably build up something. Like, I'm convinced Iron Man 2, take out all the Avengers stuff that has to get put in there, it would be demon in the bottle with setup for armor wars, and that setup would be like Ghost or someone like that, basically kind of taking plans for the armors, or at least parts of plans, stuff like that Tony Stark has, and then like Justin Hammer getting them, other competitors getting them, and then them making armors of their own in the next movie, trying to one up Tony Stark. Like, I'm convinced that was going to be the original Tony Stark trilogy. for Iron Man. However, Iron Man 2 was forced to interject kind of Avengers bullshit. Just like Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of, and Thor Dark World 2 was kind of pressured to interject Avengers bullshit. Even with like the Infinity Stones.
Infinity Stones, they didn't really reference the Avengers outside of Cap and Dark World.
I mean, but Infinity Stones is basically Avengers bullshit, because that's for Avengers Infinity War. But yeah, Iron Man 2, though, it wanted to be Demon in the Bottle. Then it wanted to be Avengers 0.5. Then it wanted to be its own. I don't even know what to call the last third of the movie, like what name I would give it, because they have like Ivan Vanko. And I mean, this was so bad that I think Mickey Rourke said he would never work for Marvel again.
God damn.
He was that pissed.
It doesn't really matter because his character is dead.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, exactly.
Boom the fuck up.
I mean, I think he asked to kill his character, because I think originally they were going to save his character, but he like had such a bad time doing this that he wanted to kill. And I mean, I think this was during kind of the writing strike too, which didn't help. I don't know. I mean, I actually, you know what? Screw it. I don't think it was during the writing strike. I want to give them an excuse. But Iron Man 2 was garbage because, one, it didn't have a definitive plot throughout the movie. I mean, they literally had a chance. They could have set up War Machine, and they kind of did. And War Machine was one of the highlights, I'm not going to lie, of this movie. But they really dropped the ball. And I mean, it's like straight out the gate. I mean, the way they did Terrence Howard was dirty. I mean, if you guys don't know the backstory of that.
Oh, yeah, that backstory is weird.
Terrence Howard was contracted for a certain amount of money per movie. They didn't expect Iron Man to be the success that it was. Now, basically, kind of think professional sports. They kind of had a cap space with their budget in regards to the salaries that the actors were going to make. Obviously, Tony Stark is played by Robert Downey Jr., not Terrence Howard. So they kind of wanted to give the actor playing Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., more money, which makes sense on paper, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that was on paper had it that Terrence Howard was making X amount of money, which happened to be more than Robert Downey Jr. And in order to fit the cap space, they would have to restructure the salaries between those two actors. And obviously, the restructuring for Robert Downey Jr. would make his go up, and for Terrence Howard, it would make his go down. And no one ever likes getting told, hey, we're going to give you less money than you were agreed upon. So Terrence Howard said no. And Marvel responded by saying, well, in this instance, we're just going to replace you because you only had one appearance anyways, yada, yada, and they got Don Cheadle. So straight out the bat already is kind of a failure by how they kind of like, that's an L for how they treated Terrence Howard, right? That's an L for Marvel. Then Marvel took another L by not being able to just have one simple plot, which is kind of sad when you consider that Jon Favreau is your director, and Jon Favreau is a fantastic director, and every other movie I've seen by him has been universally acclaimed, essentially. I mean, going from Chef, Jungle Book, Iron Man 1, I mean, the dude can make some killer movies. And besides that, I mean, it's just, there's no emotion in the movie. There's no, like, they try, especially with the Demon in the Bottle-esque kind of part of the movie.
Hey, that was a dope fight with DJ AM in the background.
But tell me, guys, like, the other MCU movies, there was some emotion behind it. Thor definitely had emotion, with the conflict between Loki and, Thor, and, especially Loki. He basically carried a lot of the emotion in the movie.
There was one scene in Iron Man 2 that I liked and I thought had good emotion to it, and it was when he was watching the recording of his dad.
You know what, Tim? Thank you, because that was very touching. But see, that's another fucking plot that they never really built upon.
Bad Papa Stark.
It was kind of pushed to the side. I mean, they had a really good actor playing Howard Stark, and luckily I swear to God, luckily for Iron Man 2, Captain America saved its ass with what they did in Civil War, because they never really explained why Tony's relationship with his parents, with his dad at least, was so like bad compared to his relationship with his mom. You know what I mean? Like, they touched upon it, but they never really showed it. And Captain America Civil War really like explored upon that more and really helped build that.
For a bit at the beginning for it, but there was a little bit more there.
Yeah, but like Captain America like Civil War, like that was like just enough, to really bring it kind of like it was enough to allow you to easily connect the rest of it together. But for Iron Man 2, you really had to think like, why is the relationship bad, like stuff like that. And then like also is kind of a failure because the way they did that new element Tony Stark made, it was originally vibranium, then they retconned it to not be vibranium, and it was kind of
bullshitium.
Yeah, it is bullshitium.
Did they ever say it was vibranium? Because all it said was he discovered a new element.
They did in the novelization.
The novelization barely counts, though. It's the same as the comic books.
The novelization does count, Tim.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't count. It does count.
I gotta be with Tim.
Counts.
I don't know why people think the novelization count. It's like, but why?
If the novelization counts, then Amadeus Cho is older than his mom.
Fuck it. It's possible.
And he's not Asian.
Exactly.
Fuck it. We have time stones now. It's possible.
We went back in time. Turned the Asian guy white and made him older than his mom. Why? Because fuck it.
Yeah, but I mean, basically my point being is that Iron Man 2 is just kind of a clusterfuck when you really think about it. And I didn't even really touch upon too much the Avengers, like, kind of like interjection in the middle of the movie that really cuts not only the pacing of the movie, but really the direction of the movie. I mean, it's just like random. It's just randomly there, you know, like just to be there. And I felt like Jon Favreau just had a really hard time doing all that. I mean, he had to put Black Widow in there and give Black Widow a purpose besides her being, you know, like Phil Coulson and only there for like 5 minutes. Yeah, like, he had to do that. Then he had to find a reason to have Nick Fury in there and then tease the Avengers program a bunch. And I mean, it's just, it was kind of ridiculous, you know? And then they had to find a way to make Howard Stark more involved with the foundings and background of S.H.I.E.L.D. to connect all of it together, to give Tony more of a reason to interact with S.H.I.E.L.D., which would be critical for him being recruited into the Avengers. And then they had that scene where he was getting like evaluated by Nick Fury and he basically failed the evaluation. You know, basically my point is that Iron Man 2 is a mess.
It wasn't enough that he was basically Walt Disney. Then he had to like basically found the alien FBI. The Men in Black.
So basically the reason why, to kind of sum it up, because I've kind of said a lot, and some of it has been kind of like constructed together well, and others, parts of it has been very disjointed. So to kind of summarize why, it's because Iron Man 2 never really had an identity. And the other movies had an identity, at least. Even if they were good, bad, whatever your opinions are on them, Iron Man 2 had no identity. And while some people might like that for, you know, kind of a joyless, brainless movie, when you really think about it, it's a huge negative on the movie, because the movie could have accomplished a great story and it could have really done a lot to further the character of Iron Man and been a worthy sequel to Iron Man 1, which was really well done. However, we didn't get that, and we got what's basically one of the biggest jokes in the MCU, besides Thor: The Dark World.
What, Black Widow?
No, the movie itself.
I mean, I can understand that, but Iron Man 3, I think, hits worth with it because it was coming right off the success of the Avengers. It dropped the ball at the end of it. It dropped its own plot elements. Like, as many plot elements as Iron Man 2 had, they at least attempted to give a conclusion to as many of them as they could. And as an ending to the Iron Man trilogy, it's just unsatisfying because it doesn't really resolve anything.
Tim, at least your movie had a sound plot.
Did it?
I mean, Age of Ultron, you had, what, 2 years of hype where people just sitting there, and you get there, it's like, why is the robot making jokes?
Well, you can't talk. You had fucking Scarlet Witch and Vision.
And all right,
that's not a failure.
Vision was cool, but
Vision was boss as shit. What are you talking about?
They didn't really specify what.
Your movie had way more Hawkeye than either of ours did. It wins by default.
Yeah,
because people were asking for more Hawkeye all this time. That was the character that we wanted to see.
So was rational people. Lame people were asking for Black Widow because they don't understand how boring she is.
We're trying. We have hope, man. She should have had a solo film, but she missed her chance.
Here, I'm gonna win this argument in 90 seconds right now. Will your movie introduce Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver? Also, your movie expanded upon Wakanda and Vibranium with Claw and all that stuff, setting that up for the Black Panther movie, building up hype for that. Also, your movie fucking like gave. I mean, I touched upon Vision, but it did something which was turn Jarvis into Vision, which was done so well and really like kind of put a stamp on the character of Jarvis as we've like come to know him over time. You can't not love that. You got further development on Hawkeye. You got Hawk Dad, basically.
Yeah, but nobody asked for Hawk Daddy, except for you.
But it wasn't what we wanted, it's what we needed.
Did we really need Hawkeye as a dad?
Yes, we always need more Hawkeye. He's one of the most interesting characters on their team, but they do nothing with him.
They don't do anything with Black Widow either.
But she's not interesting.
No, but the best part... she's more interesting than him. I want to know about all that Russian Red Room shit.
Will, the best part... Yeah,
her backstory's interesting. She herself is not interesting. Like, it's the same problem with
they touched upon the Red Room.
Her backstory's interesting, she is not.
Yeah, Will, they touched upon the Red Room, which was pretty awesome. They basically further explored all those side characters. And the best part is that they did Hawk Dad, and Hawkeye had a farm and a family, and they didn't kill them, like in the Ultimate Comics. Everyone thought they were going to die, but they didn't kill them.
In the Ultimate Comics, everybody loses.
Yeah, everyone does kind of die in the Ultimate Comics.
In the Ultimate Comics, they die, and he becomes the Punisher.
Just reminded me of Ultimate Wave 3.
Essentially, he's still Hawkeye, but he uses guns.
And the best part of all, Will, that is why you cannot call your movie a failure. Are you ready?
Sure.
Were you really waiting to respond?
Yeah, I was. That was the most unenthused, like, response
I thought you were just gonna go right into it.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, he's actually waiting. How kind of you, sir.
Jeez, man.
I didn't think you were serious. I thought you were gonna just go.
Okay.
You went against the stereotype on that one. I have to applaud you for that.
I was going to say we got the new Avengers facility at the end.
That we've seen like twice. They don't do much with it.
I mean, but it's pretty badass.
It's just there.
Tell me it's not badass. Remember everyone thought the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters were going to be there? That was wild. Those rumors. And the reason why Tim's isn't a failure at all, I mean partially, but not as much as mine.
Because we got to see a female character beat the bad guy. Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but I mean, yeah, you can add that in there too. But I was going to say because like Iron Man 3 like was actually a really creative story. Like what they did with Killian and stuff like that, the plot twist they did, even though it wasn't like a Shyamalan plot twist.
His plot twist is the same exact one as Edward Nygma in Batman Forever.
Stop it. Stop it.
No, it's the one from The Incredibles.
It's The Incredibles too, yeah. It's not that interesting.
That was awesome. Syndrome was awesome.
It's been done before.
All right, how about this? I dare you guys to try saying how Iron Man 2 after I destroyed it is a success compared to your movies.
If you're counting Will's thing of introducing multiple plot elements to it, we have connecting Iron Man to Captain America in yours. We have the introduction of Black Widow. We have building upon S.H.I.E.L.D. What did Iron Man 3 do? What did it accomplish in the MCU? It failed itself on its own story.
Suits,
what did it add?
It's an important character element. Having to see Tony Stark start from the ground back up all over again.
My only hope is that I win just from talking the most.
What, you want to filibuster us into a win?
Work as a movie. At least Iron Man 2, for not working as a movie, at least added something.
Also, you have really cool action sequences, arguably better than Iron Man 3.
I mean, Will, if you haven't noticed...
I like the final fight scene when he's not in the armor, but the armor parts aren't that great in it.
Yeah.
Will, if you haven't noticed, when I don't have, like, a legitimized point to say, I just filibuster.
You filibuster your shit. That's why you're in the place you live in now.
I think that we should put a cap on that. Give, like, final thought for 10 seconds. Go, Josh.
Alright, so basically it's just because Iron Man 2 is a fucking mess, both plot, characters, and everything else. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and it's a hodgepodge.
Alright, Will, go.
I mean, Avengers 2 was just a massive letdown in a lot of areas. Of course, there are great things like Vision and things it set up, but it basically fell into the trap that a bunch of sequel do. Like, it's just a sequel film, and that's the problem, is that it didn't really expand. It expanded on some areas, but not fully. And that's what makes it more of a failure, just because it's weak.
Were there strings on you?
Yes.
Alright, so for me, Iron Man 3, it has a lot of structural issues. It falls apart at the end. It didn't really add anything to the MCU or the Iron Man mythos outside of character stuff, which there was also stuff with that in Iron Man 2 which led into that. And as a follow-up directly to Avengers, it failed to satisfy and set sort of a trend that was only broken by Winter Soldier of sequels being bad.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, I'm just going to edit your sneeze out. So you're just saying, like, you're just apologizing and no one's going to know why.
All right. Yeah, so those are our clothing thoughts on that. So it's up to you guys in the comments. Say who you think won and why, or put down your own biggest failure of the MCU. It can be TV or movies.
Yes, and please also say who you think won this one. I actually want to kind of count who won it this time, because the past few times we've been kind of guessing who won it, even though we all know I've been winning it. But anyways,
bro, I beat you on the last one.
You did not.
Yes, I did. I counted.
I think you guys talked for like 10 minutes each on yours at the most.
That doesn't matter the amount of time you talked about, the point that you make.
Yes, it does.
Filibustering doesn't equal winning.
If the presidential elections in the United States have shown me anything, if you just talk the most bullshit, you can win.
That's called alternative facts, Josh.
Alternative fact. I've been winning these.
Okay, so
actual
like we said,
factuals,
leave
Tim
your
and I
thoughts
are
down in
taking
the
the
comments, and we'll see you guys on the next discussion. If we're on it, Josh will be on no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later.
Vote for me.